Hey there, and welcome back to another episode of Approved AF, the licensing podcast. Stories and strategies from mortgage pros who got licensed and leveled up. I'm Catalina Stepanov, and I work behind the scenes at licensingstore.com, where we help mortgage companies just like yours get licensed, stay compliant, and scale without the chaos. Today's guest is Angela Crippen, the National Business Development Director at OnCourse Learning, a leading provider of education for those in the mortgage and financial services, and a preferred provider of licensing store. With years of experience in the industry, Angie has been instrumental in helping mortgage professionals stay compliant, competitive, and confident through high-quality trainings and continuing education. Angie brings a deep understanding of regulatory requirements, adult learning, and relationship-driven business development, making her a go-to resource for mortgage companies that want to build strong, compliant teams. In this episode, we will dive into how education can be a strategic advantage in the development of your mortgage business, common compliance pitfalls that she has seen across the industry, and how to better equip your team to succeed. So let's get into it. All right, and welcome back to Approved AF. I'm here with Angie, and we are so excited to have you.
Oh, thank you so much, Catalina. I appreciate you allowing me to become a guest today.
So jumping right into it, can you please give us a little bit of background on your role at OnCourse Learning and what you do to support mortgage professionals?
Yes, absolutely. I like to think of myself as like a jack of all trades person that wears many hats. But as a trusted advisor at OnCourse Learning, I assist both B2B clients as well as folks looking to get into the industry by assisting with their enrollment needs, advising on NMLS and compliance education requirements, and just looking for solutions to help streamline processes. So a little bit of everything, whatever the day calls for.
I love that. Why is education, especially continuing education, such a make it or break it topic for this industry?
You're exactly right. It is a make or break topic. And I think there are a lot of misconceptions about continuing education, as well as a lack of knowledge about what the requirements are for the individuals. Personally, outside of the financial impacts of not maintaining your license requirements, the largest impact is the halt of the loan process. We're in a customer-facing industry, right? Where every loan that you get, that's how you pay your bills.
Yeah.
And there are referral engines for how you're going to grow your business and your pipeline. And to not complete your education at the timeline that it is supposed to be done, you are doing a disservice. It's completely unavoidable, to hold the loan process for an individual. If you just complete your education requirements as you're supposed to, your loan process obviously can go on without a hitch as it relates to NMLS education requirements.
That's so valuable. It's so important in order for you just to complete business.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, you have to have this license, and it's not like NMLS education just sneaks up on you, right? You have to take
Weird thing about the word annually.
a lot of email reminders. Yes, right. And the NMLS is very good about their communication about completing them. So it's not like it's just like, nobody told me. You're told plenty in advance, so you just have to make the time to complete it.
So would you say that that's the most common mistake that you see mortgage professionals make when it comes to completing their CE?
There's that. And then another common reason for not completing their CE is just not knowing what education to enroll into. I see a lot of folks who have, various state licenses, and they think that they have to enroll in 8 hours of education for every single state that they are licensed in, which would be terrible, right? And the NMLS is not that cruel. So I think that's one of the most common, misconceptions is just that for the amount of hours that you have to take. And I can't stress enough to your listeners to make sure that you reference your NMLS education dashboard to confirm your requirements. It's very well laid out as far as stating you need to complete, this many core hours and then, 1 hour for specific states, whatever the cases may be. And then as an education provider, we are required to submit your completions to the NMLS. So as soon as you complete that at OnCourse Learning, we credit the NMLS for your completion the business day following. So you'll be able to see that, hey, you completed your Arizona requirement and that license is compliant now as far as your education goes. So I can't stress again enough to make sure that you reference your NMLS education dashboard to confirm the hours that you need to take each year. And secondly, a common misconception is that you have until December 31st to complete all of your CE requirements, and that's just not the case.
Yeah. There are a few states that make you require them ahead of time, with different deadlines for those.
Yes.
So what is one tip you'd give someone trying to stay compliant, but also actually trying to learn something during their continuing education process?
Yeah, so you want to make sure that you give yourself plenty of time to be able to take your education and to be able to focus on it. This day and age, I know that I myself can become easily distracted thanks to social media. So if you find yourself in that bucket, just maybe finding a solution for an education that would work for your potential ADHD undiagnosed or not. So whether it's self-paced video, live webinar, or an in-person format, just finding, again, a solution that's going to keep your focus. And then again, making sure that you have the mentality of wanting to learn something. I think that's half the battle as well, is that you want to learn something throughout the time that you're taking the course.
Yeah, I think having that mindset of maybe not going into it with maybe there's some new information here that I can take away and not, I already know all of this.
Yes. Right. Yes. Try to learn something. It's very beneficial. I always tell, I have a young son that he knows it all. He's in that age where he knows everything. I'm like, if you just take a step back and listen and aren't so quick to respond or just say, I know all of this, just think outside the box. There potentially could be more to what you do know. So exactly. I think that goes for all ages.
It's a good thing to learn early and keep in mind.
Yes, absolutely.
Are there any other myths about CE that we maybe didn't cover?
So I would say, let's see. One other myth that I would like to share is that what does count towards your continuing education that I hear. So I'm finding that a lot of the agents these days are becoming duly licensed. So whether they're real estate agents and mortgage loan originators, there's two separate requirements there. So I've talked to real estate agents that have said, hey, I completed all my CE this year. And I'm like, well, the NMLS doesn't reflect that. What courses did you take? Where did you take those? And they're like, well, I sat in on a real estate continuing education course that counted for 2 hours. So that's one thing. If you are a real estate agent and a MLO, you do have two sets of requirements to fulfill two different ways. So those real estate education requirements don't cross the lines there. So that's one of them. And I guess I should mention this one too. It's kind of a Debbie Downer. But if you're the person that's licensed, you are the one that has to take your education. So we've seen this. There was a huge infliction from the NMLS a few years back, and they do audits all of the time. And as a person that has to pull data for the NMLS for particular individuals, they are looking for you to possibly skirt the lines, have your LOA or somebody else complete your education. And if they find out that you're one of the folks that did not complete your own education, you can face a hefty fine, loss of licensure. So just, I guess my last piece of advice is if you're a licensed person, take your own education.
Yes.
But those would be my last kind of button ups there.
Yep. If it's going towards your license, it needs to be you doing it.
Yes.
Oh, wonderful. Okay. So yeah, even though that is a little bit of a downer, it's very, very important to say. What have you experienced in mortgage companies that has helped them be more proactive about managing CEs across their whole team?
Yeah, so a few things on that actually. So what I would recommend is to assign it early. OnCourse Learning, we do have our catalog available on January 1st. Granted, not anyone is really ever looking for it then, but at any point in time, we're going to be ready for you on our side with the education. So the earlier that you can assign it, it just gives folks more time to procrastinate in the end, but still be able to complete it for those people that do want to stay on top of your deadlines. Make sure that you have a communication plan set in place place, set deadlines that can also be mimicked by OnCourse learning. So if you say, hey, I want everyone's education in the company to be completed by October 1st, we can make our dashboards reflective of your requirement. That way they're seeing one streamlined message across the board. And then setting yourself for automated reporting just to make sure that you always have line of sight on who is completing the education. It's one thing for somebody to say, hey, I got that done. I completed it last weekend, and you're not seeing the hours post. You can actually go in there and say, nope, you didn't actually do it at all. So having, reporting come to you that is going to be accurate, that you can obviously build a communication plan around. Incentives always work well, but along with incentives, maybe making sure that you are staying strict. So if you have someone, that misses a deadline, that you have something set up to where they're going to lose something, or there's a repercussion for falling out of line with that. And obviously the licensing store, it's such a great company to be able to assist with all of these needs and these deadlines. And they, like your licensing and compliance teams, they deserve to have a holiday that's stress-free. So if you can complete your education by their deadlines, everybody gets to have a nice Thanksgiving and a Christmas holiday. So just making sure that, you're just setting yourself up for success, and obviously the communications of the mortgage companies as well.
We have seen that a lot. You guys are a preferred partner that we network with and, utilize for a lot of the continuing education and even the BE, the pre-education. But with that, we find that a lot of mortgage loan officers will say that, oh, I completed the education. And when we log into the portal, we're seeing it's not done. And it's that they're missing that one last step, that I finished button.
Yes. Like the simplest one, right? Like, all right, I got it all. Just finalize it, complete the survey, whatever the last piece is. It should take you to a screen sharing that you have completed all of your education. And like we had mentioned before, there is an NMLS education dashboard. If you don't see your course credit bank the business day following, maybe there's something that you didn't finalize.
I think you guys have a very nice system to use so that everybody can stay on top of it and double check. So for companies, oh, you're welcome. For companies with multiple states, what extra step or timelines should they keep in mind?
Great question. So first of all, there are SMART deadlines, at-risk to miss deadlines, and too late deadlines, along with state-specific deadlines. So there's a lot of deadlines that you kind of have to keep track of. And if you go on to the OnCourse Learning website, we've made a really handy resource in the resources area of the continuing education portion that actually outlines all of the deadlines for you. And it's got nice graphics. So even if you are a licensing manager or somebody in the company that's going to be sharing out these details, it's something that you can just go in and snip it and put in your communications. But we have that available on our website for you to be able to utilize. And just so I can audibly share some of these deadlines with you, the SMART deadline for the NMLS is December the 5th, which means that you are smart if you have your education done ahead of that. You're at risk to miss your renewal on December the 12th, and then you are guaranteed to miss your renewal if you don't have your education completed by December the 26th. So those are just the NMLS's annual deadlines. But again, there are 13 states that have early deadlines. So you have to have some of those states completed before October 31st, Georgia being the first one. One piece I do want to share on that is some people say, oh, I completed my 1 hour of Georgia continuing education, I'm all done. It's not the case. So you have to have all of your education that Georgia requires. So Georgia requires 8 hours in total, 1 hour being state specific. So you would have to make sure that you have your 7-hour core and your 1 hour Georgia completed before October 31st to be in compliance with Georgia. And then that being said, also, complete your education, make sure you're on time for your deadlines, but then don't forget to actually submit your application to renew. So it's kind of like hitting that final button.
Yes.
Make sure you actually do the full process. So
and we also at licensing store, we also like to put in an extra little buffer, because not everybody is using OnCourse and not everybody's systems automatically update at the same rate. So sometimes, especially as those deadlines are coming closer and closer and more people are trying to shove it in at that very last minute, the system takes a while So give yourself that buffer. Don't wait to that last
Yes.
minute.
Yes, 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 yes. And that's usually too when technical hurdles happen, like there's going to be a storm and your internet's going to go out, or something is always going to happen when you're rushing. So at least that's what happens with myself. So always make sure you give yourself plenty of time for all of, life's things to happen, but also, as you had mentioned, the NMLS is just becoming behind with all of the hours that they are having to bank to accounts. So plenty of time.
And
Encourage it to
really,
start
you
now.
can. The core 8 hours and things like that, those are things that you can start doing now and sign up for them and just take it a couple of hours a weekend. Things like that, just to give yourself
Right.
plenty of space.
Right. Absolutely. I know that there's times where I can't sleep. So, wake up for 30 minutes, get your brain functioning. I'm an early riser as well. So, sometimes before the kids awaken, you can knock it out then. Or if it's raining out that day, you can find, 5, 10, 20 minutes throughout a day. And that all just adds up to getting your completion status done. And then it doesn't feel like it's just overwhelming. Like, oh my gosh, I have to sit here now for 8 hours and complete this, 10, 20, 30 minutes at a time. It goes by really quickly.
What would you say that mortgage companies are not thinking about when it comes to team education and compliance?
Yeah. So what scares me is that some companies treat compliance education as we'll just take the fine, and worry about it when it shows up from a regulator audit. I know you're gasping, but it happens. I obviously, I hear a lot of things. I'm like a therapist sometimes, and it's always like, no, please don't do that. There are tremendous companies out there like a licensing store that we obviously work so closely with that will literally detail like, this company based in this state, these are the compliance courses and topics that you have to cover on an annual basis, and this is who needs to complete them. You do such a good job with that. And so the resources are out there. It's not like there's no education on what you need to complete. So just being forward thinking and creating a plan and working with somebody if you don't know the answers of what education is required. I think that would be the biggest piece there. And then just being proactive and setting a standard of compliance within your company. I know personally, I would much rather be employed by a company that, welcomes an audit, I guess if that's a thing, rather than someone that's hit with fines and splashed all over the news. Because you don't want your reputation is one thing, but then when the company that you're working for gets blasted, that ruins your reputation personally as well. So just having a personal commitment to compliance outside of what your company is, if you know that they're not staying compliant, just making sure that you're doing what's best for yourself and making sure that, again, your loan process is never interrupted, your license is never interrupted, and that your name is and your reputation is always going to be as strong as you would like it to be.
Yep, because it's your livelihood.
Yes, absolutely.
One of the compliance aspects that we tell everybody that they need to have every member of their team complete is the BSA and AML training. Why is it so important to ensure that every member, not just the loan officers, complete that training?
Yeah, I'm really glad that you brought that up, because a lot of people think it's just CE and then go from there. But it is unification of process. So compliance isn't just an LO's responsibility. It is everyone on a team should complete training like the AML BSA course as a company-wide safeguard. Every touch point in a company can help prevent fraud or financial crimes, which help protect the business, builds trust with regulators, and ensures the company is always doing right by the clients. So essentially, our rule of thumb is if anyone that is involved in the loan process should all be taking the AML BSA course.
Can you walk us through what that AML BSA training would kind of look like and why it applies to support staff and admin?
Yeah, absolutely. So the BSA-AML course training, it covers how to recognize and report suspicious activity in relation to loan files. So it's not just for loan officers because fraud doesn't show up at one part of the loan process. So admins, processors, and support staff are often the first to spot something that doesn't quite add up. So if they're trained accordingly, they can help point this out and obviously save a loan and protect the company.
That's really important. Everybody doing their own part. Yeah.
Yes.
So kind of switching gears, a lot of people see continuing education or their CE as just another checkbox. How how do you suggest that companies can make education more part of their company culture instead of just another deadline?
Yeah. So, um, I can say at OnCourse Learning and our parent company, the Calibri Group, education and training is one of our pillars. And I think it does have to be a company pillar. And you have to intertwine it into your beliefs. I was at a conference recently and I spoke to a real estate broker who shared that as part of their employment contract, the individuals, they have to take part in courses that provide completion credit or certifications outside of their required CE or AML compliance courses. And I was like,
Yeah.
that's interesting. You don't hear that very often. I'm like, what's your reasoning behind it? And his reasoning was self growth and pushing yourself to not be stagnant and to be an industry expert in your local area. So if you're just doing the bare minimum, you're not really growing. It's like we talked before. You just want to grow, learn something new, and be the best in your industry. I know that's a personal goal of mine, and I think a lot of like-minded folks are in the mortgage industry. So always just pushing yourself to be the best. I think that would be one thing to kind of think of there. From a provider standpoint, the education, it has to be fun, right? You're taking it online, as we talked earlier, like your mind is in six directions at one point in time. And we really try to do a good job of making sure that our education is E3, where they're engaging, they're efficient, they're effective. So in our training, we try to add cartoons and make it effective by adding hyperlinks that you can go back in and click through, and making our courses accessible after you complete them. So if it's a CE course, you have access to it through December 31st. And then new this year, like we heard feedback, right? Like we take feedback very seriously. So I'm very happy with our product team. So when you look at our 7 and our 8 hour video courses this year, we've gone a whole step further. We have hired paid actors, and we brought in some of our instructors too that are super talented, but they have created a continuing education course that's themed after the famous Unsolved Mysteries TV show, which still
Huge
such a good
fan.
show. Yeah, I know. It's such a good one. So all those true crime people, like it's right there. But it uses humor and storytelling to drive home real case studies and compliance topics. So again, just making it fun and just setting the precedence for completing education, whether it be the minimum, if that's what your company goes for, or just, challenging folks to do extra.
That's really cool. Yeah, I guess that kind of rewards people or encourages them to do continuous learning or continuing education. But are there
Yeah.
any other unique ways that you've seen companies encourage them to complete it?
Yeah. So there's been some really cool ones out there. I think the coolest one that I have seen, I was like really jealous, like, dang, I want to complete my CE so that I could be part of this incentive. But I've had companies where if you completed your education by a certain deadline, you got entered in to attend the President's Club trips, which I'm like, dang, like that's really cool. Or
That
fantastic
is.
prizes like, yeah, like cash, gaming systems, cruises. But obviously understanding not every company has a budget to even have a president's trip or to add on an additional person. So I think it just goes back to kind of seeing like what you can do to motivate your internal team members. So it could be as simple as providing, a paid lunch to the first branch that fully completes their education, or gift cards. Again, just whatever you think would be a powerful incentive, just making it fun, making it competitive, and just making sure that your communication is right in line, that you have a communication strategy behind whatever incentive you put out there.
So I've heard you say like an incentive would help motivate people to complete it faster, and then also having some kind of like not punishment, but like a punishment for those that don't complete it on time.
hmm Yeah, yeah. So obviously the incentives are really good, but if you don't, you have to. It's just like being a parent, right? If I tell my child you have to be home by X time, and then they know that I'm just a softie and I never have to be, have them home by a set
Yeah.
time, you're going to get run all over the place, right? They're not going to complete that. So if they know that about you, that's what's going to happen. So you have to set the precedence of saying, if your education is not completed by this time, this is what's going to happen. And you have to follow up with that. So just having something that they're going to miss by not completing their education, that obviously is warranted for the company. I think you would just have to come up with what that looks like internally. And like I said, you have to follow up with it and then have a plan, like say, I can't turn this back on until your education is completed. So just follow through.
Yeah. The follow through is serious. If you could give one piece of advice to a mortgage company leader trying to build an education forward team, what would that advice be?
Yeah. So I think it again comes back to just starting with internal communication to determine where the company can improve, and then partnering with a solution that can match your needs, but also be a partner. It's one thing to provide the services, but also to kind of be there to help and assist with any questions or needs that come along the way, and be able to give advice. Across the board, we're dedicated to providing resources that assist with communication, to manage and customize course deadlines, streamline education needs tailored to a position versus a one-size-fits-all model. I also believe that ease of use is important. So having one dashboard that houses all of your NMLS and compliance education, your internal training documents, custom courses that you can make, and it not only makes it efficient for the learner, but it's also seamless for the management. And again, that's one thing that I pride ourselves on here at OnCourse Learning, is that we really try to work together to identify, what problems you have or what solutions can be made to take you from using 3 systems to one, and what are kind of the hiccups that you face in a daily basis, and how we can just give you more time in your week, because everybody could use, 5 minutes, an hour, whatever the case may be. So just working together to be able to help with those solutions is ultimately what we're trying to do here.
I mean, again, that sounds like you guys are really set apart with all of those resources, making that process streamlined and as efficient as possible for anybody that's using it or having their team use it. Is there anything else that sets OnCourse apart from any other education providers?
Well, thank you for asking that. It's really kind of you. Um, so we're an all-in-one training provider that offers, every single course that the NMLS requires, and we have all of our courses in multiple formats. So they're tailored for every learning style. So we try to customize it. If you have X learner that needs a webinar and Y learner that needs a video, it's not one size fits all. And then again, having multiple formats: video, reading, in person, live webinar, private courses, public courses. And then outside of our NMLS catalog, we match it with a compliance, job knowledge, and sales training catalog with over 300 courses. So we don't only educate mortgage companies. We also have catalogs for banks, credit unions, non-traditional entities. So we really try to have a breadth of education for anyone that essentially is in the loan originating business. And the last piece that I'll share is that our parent company at OnCourse Learning is the Calibri Group. And we do a great job of priding ourselves in a full service commitment in the education space. So we have a full solution for real estate, insurance, securities, you name it. So if you are a diverse company where you have many different branches, we can work together as one, and you can say, hey, the Calibri Group here has got us taken care of. I have a mortgage branch, I have a real estate branch, we have an insurance branch. I know that I'm going to be able to take all of my education under one umbrella. So that's one thing that we can do here. And we have white glove service that can service every education, whether it's a singular or a diverse background of companies.
That is really impressive.
I can't take the credit. I'm just happy to work here.
And I have to say, they are lucky to have you.
Oh, thank you.
You are absolutely wonderful and a pleasure to work and interact with. And I don't feel like I get to talk to you enough. I try and find reasons to talk to you.
No, the same as what I was looking. I'm like, who's going to be at the conference? And hopefully you guys are there, because, you guys are top notch. And like I mentioned earlier, when it even just comes to compliance, you guys know your stuff. Everyone from the CEO down, everybody is helping, and it's all hands on deck. And I love that about your company. It's not just like a set it and forget it, and these people can take care of it. Ryan, whether it's yourself, Ryan, anyone can reach out to us, and you all do.
Yeah.
And they're just such a great group of people that have the best intentions in mind for the company, and they stand behind what they're offering and what services are being utilized. So you're a great company. And you personally are an awesome individual.
If people wanted to know more about OnCourse Learning and any of the training solutions, I will obviously have a link to our partner site down below for our mortgage education things, but where else can they find you? Where else can they look to learn more?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm on LinkedIn. I definitely welcome your connection there. And then you can always reach me by email or phone. So my email is acrippen@oncourse.learning.com. And then my direct line is 234-230-1428.
Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you. Again, I appreciate you allowing me to be a guest today. And I hope that someone that is listening has taken a nugget away for how they can grow their business or themselves individually.
Well, we'll have to have you again on soon, hopefully after renewal season.
Yeah, we can talk about, all the people that did good.
And all the horror stories so people can learn from them.
Yes. Oh, goodness. Yes. Yes.
Well, thank you so much. Talk to you soon.
Yep. Sounds good.
Mm.
Thank you. Bye.
Isn't Angie great? All right, that does it for this episode of Approved AF, the licensing podcast. So here's what to do next. Hit subscribe so you don't miss an upcoming episode. Head on over to licensingstore.com if you want help with getting licensed, staying compliant, or growing without the chaos. Share this with somebody who might find it helpful and follow along because every episode will get you one step closer to being Approved AF.